such a time as this.
And welcome back to For Such a Time As This, the place where there is no such thing as a silent witness. As always, discussing in times. I'm with Rick. Rick, how are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you, Pastor.
And forgive me, I'm under the weather just a little bit, so excuse me for the coughing. Excuse me for the raspy voice a little bit. All right, here we go. Discussing end times. I don't know how you can look at the news, look at what's going on, and look at the Bible and not understand, man, there's something going on worldwide. This hatred for Jews, Rick, how do you explain it?
It's demonic.
If it's not, something happened. And the October 7th thing, Hamas crosses over, kills civilians, throw babies in ovens, rape and kill women. And even to this day, what would it be, 3 years in October? 2 or 3?
2 years. We're at like 600
Yeah,
days
right.
in the war.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
600 days in the war. So
Yeah, because my grandson turns 2. He was born the day after, October 8th. That's how I know what time
so it's 2 years.
So it's 2 years. We're 2 years later, they're still yelling from the river to the sea, kicked off of a demonic attack in which the most horrific things were carried out against civilians in the Jewish nations. Not only that, it's coming to our shores. And this thing that happened in Colorado, we're going to start off with this horrific attack in Colorado. This man attacked some Jews who were peacefully protesting in Colorado. They do it every Sunday, right, Rick?
Every Sunday they've been doing it.
Every Sunday. And he took some Molotov cocktails and burned Jews alive. One was a Holocaust survivor at 90 years old. He burned her. Yeah. She's still living, but that was his thing. And so this first clip is a guy who is going to give us some update on what they found. Of course, he was an illegal alien.
Oh, come on now.
He was illegal alien that Biden let in.
Law-abiding people.
Yeah, okay. And you know what? I'm going to just point out the obvious of what the Biden administration and those who were in charge, what their whole intent was with this open border. But here's the first clip.
They didn't want you to know this. Federal agents just raided the home of the man who firebombed Jewish protesters in Boulder, Colorado. And what they found is sending Democrats into full-blown damage control. Molotov cocktails, a flamethrower, but what they also found wasn't a weapon, but it may be the worst thing of all. Please like, comment, and share Explain America, because we're really trying to get the word out on common sense journalism. Here's what they're hiding. The attacker was 45-year-old foreign national Mohammed Solomon, an illegal alien who overstayed his visa. He launched a violent terror-style assault in broad daylight at a Jewish event with homemade bombs and a makeshift flamethrower. Now, he caused 8 innocent people to become victims, all while yelling "Free Palestine" and setting people on fire. Afterwards, the FBI searched Solomon's home and vehicle and found something else: USAID paperwork. That's right, he had documentation linking him to a U.S. federal agency, the same one Democrats love to fund as part of their global humanitarian agenda. And that's just the beginning. Solomon had 14 Molotov cocktails ready. He explicitly told police he wanted to kill all Zionist people. He wasn't mentally ill or randomly violent. He was targeting Jews on U.S. soil. But he was protected by Boulder's sanctuary city laws, which stopped ICE from deporting him years ago. Let's be clear, this attack could have been prevented in a sane country with normal enforcement of immigration law. But liberal sanctuary policies, or lawless policies, shielded Solomon from removal and left Americans vulnerable to a foreign terrorist in their own community.
Rick, how are sanctuary cities even legal?
They're not, but the government, until Trump has come on, they're starting to clamp down on them. I don't know if they're going to shut them all down. Stop. I know they want to stop their funding. I'm sure the courts will get involved. You can't stop their funding.
How do you have a city declare, literally, secede from the federal government? Secede from the federal. That's what they're doing.
I know.
That's what they're doing. And so, I'm sorry. I'm going to point out the obvious. If you're going to let tons of illegals come through the southern border and congregate around sanctuary cities, how is that not an invasion? How is that not declaring the breakaway from the federal government? How is that not civil war? When the South seceded from the North and said, we will no longer listen to your laws, we will no longer submit to the laws coming out of Washington, D.C., we're going to do our own thing, and we're not going to obey the laws passed by the U.S. Congress. How was that any different than sanctuary cities today? How is that any different? And now they're recruiting soldiers, they're recruiting people to rally underneath banners that said they're not going to listen to the federal government anymore. How is it different? This is war. Biden and the people that ran the Biden administration wanted to create a civil war. They wanted to create sanctuary cities and entities that will refuse what the federal government is going to do. So when federal government gives a legal notice, we want to deport some people, and you have Democrats and blue states and blue cities saying we're going to ignore the federal government and we're going to release these murderers and terrorists back on the street. How is that not a civil war?
Sounds like insurrection to me.
How is that not insurrection? It is insurrection. And we have to be honest. And I think, Rick, we don't have the fortitude to stop this. Anyone who claims sanctuary city, the mayor needs to be arrested and removed from office. That's insurrection.
I totally agree.
That's civil war. You're declaring war against the federal government.
Well, they're talking about the Tennessee governor, or is it mayor of Nashville right now? He's they're going down to investigate him because he's doing the same thing Colorado's doing. Well, so is Chicago.
What is he doing?
The mayor of Nashville, Tennessee.
What is he doing? What is the next?
He's protecting all these illegal immigrants.
He's protecting foreign soldiers.
Okay.
From the federal government.
Right.
He needs to be arrested.
So does Chicago mayor, too.
He needs to be arrested.
All these sanctuary
cities.
The
FBI needs to go in and arrest this guy and remove him from office, and then go to the Chicago City Council and says, who else is siding with foreign soldiers against the federal government? Who else is trying to shield us? And take them away. And then install a new governor, a new mayor, have an election, I don't care, and say any mayor or any governor who says they're going to side with foreign soldiers against the federal government, that's an act of war. That's insurrection.
Insurrection.
And I don't see how there's any different. All right. Anywho, the next clip is going to talk about the lasers. Israel has come up with some more technology that they are deploying on the battlefield. Watch this.
So, how does it work? Once a threat is spotted, the system quickly calculates its precise trajectory and speed, locking onto the target with pinpoint accuracy. Then, a high-energy laser beam is fired, hitting and destroying the threat before it can harm anyone. And all of this happens in just a matter of seconds. Think of it like using a magnifying glass to focus sunlight onto a single point to burn a piece of paper, but on a much larger and much more sophisticated scale. The laser concentrates immense energy onto the target, causing it to overheat and fail. What's truly remarkable is that this process is silent, invisible, and incredibly efficient, ensuring that we stay one step ahead of those who wish to harm us. In the face of increasing threats from our neighbors and beyond, having a defensive system that's not only effective but also sustainable is crucial. Traditional interception methods, like those used by the Iron Dome, cost around $50,000 for each missile that is fired. During heavy barrages, the costs add up quickly. So when it comes to dollar bills, Magen O changes the game. It's incredibly cost-effective. As long as there's power, the system can keep firing, giving us effectively unlimited ammunition. By adding Magen O to our arsenal, we're enhancing our multi-layered defense strategy, making it even more robust.
It sure sounds like he's saying Megiddo, which is really close to Megiddo, which is Armageddon in English. I'm gonna have to look that up. What exactly is he saying? I think he's talking about Megiddo. But anyway, this laser system.
Star Wars technology.
Star Wars technology. Star Wars technology.
It's been they've been working on it for years. It just became operational in the last. Well, they were testing it for the last 3 months, and now apparently it's online.
Woo.
And the cost, they said a missile to shoot down another missile is about $50,000 every time they. This is like the price of a cup of coffee.
But you have the energy, I guess, to
the
fire.
electricity. It's about $5 to $6 each time they shoot something down, and then you don't have to load another rocket in. You don't have to
Unlimited
bring all the rockets in and all the.
Well, you know what I'm saying. Well, where's ours? Where's the United States one? If that's true, that's going to be on every base, United States air base around the world within a year. And Israel, you need to just give it to us because all the stuff we've given you over the years. You owe us.
Right.
That would change. Because I'm sure if you can shoot down a missile, you can shoot down a plane.
Yeah, it might need a stronger beam, but the big thing right now is the drones and the small missiles because they're hard to shoot down. So
you don't think it'll take down a plane? If I could take out I could damage it for sure.
Yeah. Well, this even takes out mortars.
If we could take out a mortar, they could probably take out a plane.
So, I mean, that's
but that's what they're concerned about: mortars and missiles and drones.
And these small UIVs.
I'm gonna look that up. Megiddo, man. All right. The reason why they need this is because of Iran. Iran is a problem, and I think we talked about this. Rick and I talked about this. I think the Trump administration is handling this very poorly. You can't deal with someone who is dead set on murder and mayhem that Iran is. And Trump is key. He keeps pushing the ball down the street with Iran, kicking the can down the street. It seems like we're at a point to where there's enough talking. That's just me. That's my opinion from way over here in the Chicago area. But it does seem like Iran is moving forward in their nuclear pursuits.
Well, Trump says they're never going to get a nuclear bomb, but they've got enough uranium. We'll see in this clip. They almost have enough uranium to make 9 or 10 of them.
Yeah. I don't know what he's
doing. So
doing.
is he going to all talk or is he going to do something?
Yeah. Here's the next update.
Now, what the report said, according to reports, is that Iran has carried out secret nuclear activities with material that was not declared to the UN watchdog group, the IAEA, at 3 specific locations. And this is the findings will have likely results on the IAEA. And they have a 35 national board of governors, and they may take a resolution that would actually say that Iran is in non-compliance of its non-proliferation obligations. Now, 4 Western powers, and that would include the United States, Britain, France, and Germany, may adopt that resolution and present it to the IAEA board. Iran is saying that the report is politically motivated, and it said it would take, quote, appropriate measures in response to any effort against the country. And also the IAEA report said they had Iran's stockpile of enriched uranium right now is up to 60% purity. That's close to about 90% weapons grade, and it's not doesn't take a long time to go from 60% to 90%. And that enriched uranium has grown to 408.6 kilograms. That's over about 1,000 pounds. And if it was used for nuclear weapons, it would be able to make 9 nuclear weapons, according to the IAEA.
Okay.
I am shocked that Iran kept this a secret. I just can't believe that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we so naive to believe? Well, apparently we are, that Iran abides by all treaties and et cetera, et cetera.
Iran and Hamas, these guys, again, you're dealing with people who kill their own people. They tell women to strap bombs on them and go in the crowd. And we don't care if you die so long as you take 2 or more Israelis with you. That's their culture. That's who they are. And once you get to that point, there's no. I don't think you can't reason with them anymore. There's no honest diplomacy there.
Well, when you love death more than life, I mean, well, if you're not afraid to die for your cause, and you'll do whatever you have to, they think they're martyrs, and
yeah, but you know what? The leaders, they don't want to be martyrs. They want the peons
to be martyrs.
They're subjects to be the martyrs.
That's true.
They're not trying to die.
That's true.
But again, whether you're talking about Hamas or Iran, they're not someone you're going to negotiate
exactly
peace treaty with. So you know what? For the longest, when I was much younger and I used to read the book of Joshua, and how God is like, no debate, wipe them out.
Wipe them out.
I didn't understand it back then. I understand it now. When a culture is so far gone, has rejected God's truth, when a culture, in your words, Rick, loves death more than life, you can't negotiate with them.
No way.
You can't do it. And I think we're at this point now. So I don't know. I don't know what will come of it. We'll see. We'll see. Along those lines, Gaza. The people of Gaza seem to be getting fed up with Hamas rulership. But, you know, this is what the report says. If they're really rising up, kick Hamas out. Because the choice in Gaza is, if you still are being led by Hamas, the bombings will continue.
And if you don't do what Hamas says, they kill you.
Exactly. So,
So
the average citizen in Gaza, get it. You're in between a rock and a hard place. Choose. I think you have a better chance of revolting against Hamas and kicking them out than you do of beating the IDF.
Right.
Rock and a hard place, but I get it. You got to make your choice. Here it is. Last video update.
IDF is destroying Hamas's military and governance infrastructure, as well as preparing areas to accommodate displaced civilians and deliver aid. Israel aims to transfer Gaza's civilian population to designated sterile zones while screening out Hamas operatives. The Israel Defense Forces would then enter cleared areas, eliminate remaining Hamas members, and establish a prolonged presence. In recent months, scores of Palestinians have flooded the streets of Gaza in an unusual and straightforward expression of frustration towards Hamas. A significant number of people in Gaza are now holding the Iran-backed terror group responsible for bringing devastation and bloodshed to the area. Gaza civilians have marched through the rubble of their towns, chanting "Hamas, get out," and "Hamas are terrorists." Gazans have also voiced frustration with Hamas on social media, rallying around the hashtag Hamas Stop the War. Palestinians have been spotted holding anti-Hamas signs that read, "Our kids' blood is not cheap." Importantly, the demonstrations have not backed any political figures or organizations. Their objective remains clear: to put an end to the conflict, which they attribute to Hamas. Since the onset of the conflict, Hamas has significantly diminished its military strength and lost the unchallenged authority it had over Gaza. In an effort to re-establish control, Hamas has formed new policing and internal security units.
All right, if that's true, get rid of them.
Yep.
If it's true. If it's true.
All those Gazans should start to tell IDF where all these people are, where they're hiding them, where the hostages are held, and
Exactly.
start to capitulate with Israel.
Exactly. You know what? Made a mistake. Did not tell you all up front what we're going to talk about from the spiritual discussion, but hopefully in the description you'll be able to see it. We're going to switch now to our spiritual discussion, and it is the epoch theory of the 7 churches in the book of Revelation. The epoch theory. And so the epoch timeline theory, also known as the historicis or church age interpretation of the 7 churches in the book of Revelation, chapters 2 and 3. These suggest that these 7 churches not only represent literal congregations existing at the time John wrote Revelation, that's around 90 AD. Sorry, Reformed people, it wasn't 65 AD, it was 90 AD, after Jerusalem fell, but also symbolizes 7 successive periods of epochs in the history of the Christian church from the apostolic era until the return of Christ. So here's the breakdown for those of you who are looking at this. Here's the breakdown we have on the screen, and we'll just go through them. We won't read everything here, but we'll just give you the highlight of the epoch theory and what's going on, and at the end why it's so important. So Ephesus is the first book in Revelation, chapter 2, 1 through 7. It is the apostolic church, and that time period is roughly from 30 AD to 100 AD. If you look at it, if you're looking at it, the church is coming in for its hard work, and the apostles are there. And the epoch interpretation is that this period represents the early church characterized by apostolic teaching, zeal, and stand against emergent heresies, but also facing the beginning of a decline of a passionate love for Christ. And that was from the beginning, Rick.
Yes, and what's Ephesus known? They lost their first love.
That was shortly after Christ got on a cloud and went to heaven. My goodness.
50 years.
50 years. So the first epoch, the first time period is Church of Ephesus 30 to 100. The second one, Smyrna, right? Persecuted church roughly from 100 AD to 313 AD. The epoch interpretation is that this period is seen as the time of intense Roman persecution of Christians, where the church endured great suffering and martyrdom, often strengthened their faith through adversity. And again, this is from roughly 100 AD to 313 AD.
What's interesting, myrrh was what do you call it? Myrrh was used in burial people, in burying people. It was not an incense, but Smyrna. So myrrh is part of Smyrna's name.
Oh, okay. Myrrh.
Representing death.
Okay. Good. The next one, Pergamum. Roughly characterized as the compromising church, and that was roughly from 313 AD to 590 AD. The epoch interpretation is this period begins with the legalization of Christianity under Constantine and the subsequent mixing of the church with the world. It marks a time of compromise with pagan practices and a decline in spiritual purity as Christianity became the state religion. As long as Christianity was persecuted by the church, Christianity was persecuted by the state, it remained pure. But once the church adopted it and the church started to, make nice with the government, i.e. make nice with the world, the church's purity was compromised. And we see that all over the time period. That started in the third church, but I think even today it is very, very prominent. Anything before we go to the next one, Rick?
No, it's the marriage of the state and religion.
Yep. State religion.
That and I think that's where the papacy started. Truly,
It is.
With,
Oh, it
with
is.
Constantine. Yeah.
Because if you look at that, there's some things that you could look into the Roman Catholic Church. And,
So Constantine was probably the first pope, not Peter.
well, we know it wasn't Peter.
We know it wasn't Peter.
Yeah, the next one is Thyatira, the medieval church from about 590 A.D. to 1517. That's probably the longest period. Was commended for their love, faith, service, patience, and their last works were more first. Criticism was what? They tolerated the woman Jezebel, who claimed to be a prophetess and led God's servant to sexual immorality. Rick, I believe that is when the true Roman Catholic Church took shape. Seeds may have been planted in the one before,
Right.
but the Roman Catholic Church comes to power underneath Thyatira. And this woman Jezebel is the prominent in it.
And what do you think? Who is the prominent woman in Catholicism?
Oh, we know that. That's the co-redemptics.
Yes.
The Immaculate Conception.
Yes.
Yeah, that's woman Jezebel.
So that's why, we, from a biblical perspective, Peach, no women pastors or women should not preach or teach over men.
Over men.
When the women start to lead, then bad things happen.
And look, just to let you all know, we used AI to print this out for you all today. And look what AI says, the Epoch interpretation. This is AI. This is often seen as the period of the Dark Ages and the rise of the Roman Catholic Church, characterized by both genuine faith and devotion, but also by the rise of practices and doctrines symbolized by Jezebel that are seen as idolatrous and immoral by proponents of this theory. The veneration of the saints, relics, priestly celibacy, leading to corruption. And one of the things it didn't say in there was the elevation of Mary. Now, even AI didn't have the courage to say it, but we'll say it.
We'll say it.
The elevation of Mary. She is the Jezebel.
Yes.
She is the Jezebel. Now, be very clear. Mary of the Bible is not Jezebel.
Mary,
the mother of Jesus, would tell you, do not pray to me. Do not venerate me. Do not worship me. Satan took that which was good, the mother of God, and exalted her far beyond what she herself would have ever agreed to, and made an idol of her. Thyatira is about from 590 to 1517 A.D. Next one was Sardis. Running short on time. Sardis here, the Reformation Church, roughly between 1517 and 1700, the Epoch interpretation. This period corresponds with the Protestant Reformation, while a positive movement that brought significant theological truths to light. It's seen by some as eventually setting into formalism and lacking the fervent spiritual life of the early reformers.
well, the printing press became viable at this time too, and the Word of God got printed and got in the laity's hands, which they were trying to hide it from.
Yes, they were. The Roman Catholic Church absolutely used it as a way to control. Next one is Philadelphia, roughly from between 1700 and 1900. This is the only church out of all seven in which there is no criticism of it. None. Jesus only offers promises and encouragement of perseverance. And this epoch is characterized by and is associated with the great missionary movements and revivals, the great awakenings that spread the gospel globally, emphasizing evangelism and renewed commitment to biblical truth. And so when you have throughout the New Testament that this gospel will be preached all over the world, I believe that was fulfilled in this one right here. These 200 years in which the gospel went pretty much everywhere. Was it perfect? No, we're not saying it was perfect. Nothing that man does is perfect. But I do believe it was fulfilled in that the gospel was spread everywhere. And that is the
It's interesting. Philadelphia means brotherly love.
Brotherly love. Yep.
Brotherly love of the gospel.
Yep. And then the last one is Laodicea, which when I first read this, when I was started to really look at eschatology and I read Laodicea, like, wait a minute. That's us.
Yes.
That's today. So it's the lukewarm apostate church started from about 1900 to current day, and it will continue to the coming of Christ. The criticism, is either lukewarm, it's neither hot nor cold. And the interpretation is this is generally understood to represent the church in the modern and end times, characterized by spiritual indifference, materialism, self-reliance, and lack of passionate commitment to Christ, despite outward appearances of prosperity. So we're going to take this and we're going to make this, I'm going to give a link to this video so you can look at this theory. I think this theory is pretty impressive here. Please poke holes at it. You tell me.
The Bible is amazing. God takes 7 local churches here, and he describes the entire church age with each specific problem each individual church had. That's just, only God could do something like that.
And one of the greatest, there's some other scriptural proofs in Revelation I could point to, but one guy does this. One guy said this when I was studying this, Rick. He said, look, if you want to nitpick at, well, this church, that church, well, that's not right, because I know this church. What the epoch theory is describing is the general dominant view of the church at that time. Not that all churches fall underneath this. I think there are some faithful churches today that does not adhere to Laodicea. I just know one church in Palatine, New Hope Community Church. They don't adhere to the Laodicea doctrine, but it's talking about the overall church. That was one. And then 2, he said this. You can see the pattern. If you switch one church, switch 1 with 2, or 2 with 3, or 3 with 4, or 7 with 1, switch any one of them, it doesn't work. How ironic, or what a coincidence that they all seem to fit in line. All of it.
I know. It's amazing.
We have hindsight, 2,000 years. Switch any one of them, 1 with 3, 1 with 6, 7 with 4. It doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
But boy, what a coincidence, air quotes.
God is amazing.
That it seems to lay out. So went a little long. Thank you all. We're going to please, and I don't do this enough because I'm not a marketing guy. I don't care about marketing so much. But please like the channel. Please share the channel. The more you share, the more you like, the better for the algorithm it is, the more we'll spread this. So we're going to ask you to partner with, for such a time as this, the ministry of New Hope Community Church. Share it, like it, so we can spread the truth of God's word. We think we are faithful to Scripture. If you agree, like, share, send it. Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you all. Discussing end times. Until next time, God bless.
For such a time as this,